Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm JV Teamer. This is my beginner's guide to Retro Bowl. We're going to start a new game. Our name is Guide Fieri. We're going to start out with the Bengals. We are going to play the tutorial. First, I just want to let you guys know, I'm playing on iOS. This game is also available on Android and PC, and it's coming to Switch, or it's already on Switch. I don't know. I don't have a Switch, but I want to play it on Switch. This is a tips and tricks video to get you started on your first season of Retro Bowl. Please, if this video helps you at any time, like and subscribe, and drop any questions that you have down in the comments below. Thank you very much. Let's get started with the tutorial. So this is the user interface. This button down here, it's the front office. You can upgrade facilities and staff. If you tap any of the icons, they'll give you more information. We'll go over this more in a minute. The roster screen, these are our key players. So you tap a player to see what's going on with them. You can view player details and attributes. Keep an eye on morale and conditioning. Poor morale and conditioning can lead to game penalties and problems on and off the field. Low condition can lead to injury or fumbles, which are bad. Okay, we're going into the tutorial. Now to pass on iOS, you drag your finger back to start the play and they start running. You need to lead the receiver. So he had a cut-in route. You need to lead your receiver. So you throw it to where you think he's going. Now he stopped running. In the real game, they won't stop running, but you got to throw it to where you think he's going to be. I swear I'm good at this game. Okay, we'll give him a little easier throw. Now you're going to do this when you start the game, but I'm just going through it for you. So you swipe up or down to juke with whatever player has the ball. So this is the running back. You give it to the running back. You can swipe up to juke. Oh, we failed. This is useful for avoiding tackles and getting into the end zone. You can also run with the quarterback by trying to throw backwards. And then you can swipe up and down. You can swipe forwards to dive. Finally, kicks. So you first tap to set power, green all the way up. And then you see this little cone. You want to get inside of that cone to score the field goal or the extra point. And later on, we're inside in a training facility, but later on, the weather will become an issue with kicking field goals, and there's a wind direction that you also have to take into account for. But you don't have to worry about that right now. So, the first game you'll play will be a really tough game that you'll probably lose, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. We're going to play on easy right now. And while I play this, I'm going to talk about how to choose a difficulty when you first start out playing. So, how to choose a difficulty. So right now we're playing on easy. On easy, the gameplay is very slowed down. The opposing team is very slow. There's a high chance of getting a defensive stop on defense, and the kickoff speed is very slow. On medium, the gameplay is slightly slowed down. The opposing team is slow, and there's a medium chance of a defensive stop, and the kickoff speed is more normal and medium. On hard, the gameplay is fast. The opposing team is fast. The chance of getting a defensive stop is pretty low, and the kickoff speed is fast. Now, on extreme, which is what I like to play on now that I'm a pro, the gameplay is very, very fast. The opposing team is very fast and aggressive. All the opposing teams will have 5-star offense and 5-star defense, no matter what. And the kickoff speed is very fast. But once you get used to it, the kickoff speed is actually easier when it's faster, but it really doesn't make a difference. You just have to get used to it. Now, dynamic can go from level 1, I think, all the way up to level 12. At level 1, it's very easy, and at level 12, it's very hard. It'll go up a level if you win a game, and it'll go down a level if you lose a game. So it just changes based on how well you're playing. I recommend starting off on easy, but you can play however you want. We'll finish up this game real quick. So real quick on playing the game, you want to look at where your routes are, and you want to throw it to where the player is going to be. I'm going to throw a screen pass to the running back here, and then I'm going to juke up and down. If you juke last minute, then you have a chance of them missing their tackle. And a big one is you can dive forward to avoid, because if you get hit, there's a chance you could fumble. But if you dive right before you get hit, then you won't fumble. Now, on the extra point, you can kick a field goal to get 1 point, or you can go for 2. Going for 2 is really hard. You have to watch where the defense is going to be. So they dropped back, but I waited until the play developed, and I got that wide receiver open in the middle of the end zone. but I almost got sacked there, so it was very risky. I pretty much just go for 1 unless I need to go for 2 because I missed a point. If you go for 2, the other team will also go for 2, and they'll probably get it. You can also, if you dodge into somebody, you have a chance of stiff arming them, but not always. Now in game, you also get audibles, which are in here on the top right of the screen. You can click that to change the play before the snap. And you only get 4 of these per half, so use them sparingly. I only really use them if I'm like in a scoring position and I really need to change the play. The other thing you have during game is once a play is over, you can call a timeout, which is right there on the top right. I'll do it again. That was super fast. Right there on the top right. If you hit that, you'll call a timeout and that'll stop the clock. And defense. The defense in this game is still simmed. The more defensive players that you have on your roster, the more likely you are to stop the other team's offense from scoring. But on higher difficulties, especially on extreme, it doesn't really matter how many defensive players you have. They're still going to score on you. And so my biggest advice with defense, sometimes the best defense is a really good offense. So focus on offense. Touchdown, Bengals! On this screen after the game, you see how many points you scored, your standing, and down there on the bottom left, that's your fan score. There's 3 levels to the fan score, which we'll go over later. But after you win, your fan score goes up, and if you lose, your fan score goes down. Now the season's over, and we go into the first draft. In the draft, you get 3 picks in your first draft. Later on, you get more or less per round, depending on the trades that you do with your players during the season. Now, in this first draft, I always go for offensive players because you can pick up defensive players later on through trades. You can trade in defensive players. So what you need to do is first go to your roster and see what players you need. Now, you have a quarterback, you have a running back, you have a wide receiver. You need to have as many receivers on the field as you can. So we need to draft another wide receiver, and we need a tight end, and we need an O-line. I'm going to start with a wide receiver. First round, all the players are good. They're the better players, and when you get to the second and third round, the players are not as good. So whichever position you need to be the best, that's what you want to get first. So I'm going to get my wide receiver first. Now, when you go to a player, down in the bottom left here, you have this scout player option, and that tells you where his potential on his stats is going to be. We're going to go ahead and sign him. So we got a 4-star wide receiver. That's good. Now we want either a tight end or an O-lineman. I'm going to go with the tight end and scout him. He's going to be a 4.5 star, so we're going to sign him right away. We'll go over stats in just a minute. And then we need an O-line. Oh, there's no O-line left? Oh, that's bad. Normally I would get an O-line. There's always an O-lineman left. In that case, I guess we'll get either a linebacker or a defensive back and hope that we get traded an O-line during the season. This guy's a potential 4-star defensive back, so we're going to sign him. And that's the end of the draft. Normally I would have an O-lineman, but you want to have as many receivers on the field as you can. The running back counts as a receiver because you can throw to him. The tight end is a receiver. He's usually in the middle of the field. It's super easy to hit him with a quick pass and get a first down. And then you need a wide receiver on either side of the field so you can be able to throw to both sides of the field. And then the O-line for blocking. As far as stats goes, every type of player has speed, stamina, and some type of strength. Speed is how quickly the player moves. Stamina is how long the player will be able to effectively perform moves and how long they'll be speedy. And it's different for each player. For instance, a quarterback with high stamina will still be able to make longer throws by the end of a game, whereas a quarterback with low stamina will have shorter throwing range by the end of a game. Strength determines how likely a player is to be tackled if they're on offense, or how likely they are to make a tackle if they're on defense. For quarterbacks and kickers, strength determines how far the ball can be thrown or kicked. And then each position player has one other stat that is unique to just their position. For example, if you look at the wide receivers, they have catching and then strength, speed, and stamina. And if you look at the defensive linemen, they have tackling and then strength and speed and stamina. And the O-line, which we don't have right now, has a blocking stat. For wide receivers and tight ends and running backs, anyone that has the catching stat, that should be the last thing upgraded, as they're pretty much going to catch the ball no matter what, as long as you throw the ball correctly. For every other position, you can choose which one you want to upgrade first, but I think I usually upgrade their special skill, like tackling, blocking for the O-line. For kicker, I do kick range, because the kick accuracy, you just have to learn to do the kicks, and the kick accuracy doesn't matter as much. And for quarterback, I do arm strength and then throw I do arm strength and throw accuracy kind of at the same time, and then speed and stamina. But it's up to you. But those are the stats. But definitely remember, you don't need to upgrade catching on running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. That should be the last thing that you upgrade. Catching does not matter. If the ball's like far away from them, it might be more likely to like dive and catch it if their catching skills upgraded. But as long as you throw them the ball, throw them a good pass, they're gonna catch the ball. So that's the last one that I upgrade on those guys. Now, as far as your team setup, you want as many receivers as possible. So you want at least 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. You want 1 quarterback and 1 O-line. You don't need more than 1 O-line. You want a kicker, especially if you're playing on harder difficulties. For defense, eventually you want at least 1 of each position: defensive back, defensive line, and linebacker. If you go to the front office and click free agents down here on the bottom right, you can buy these guys with coaching credits, but you don't need to worry about that early on in the game. You just really can't afford them, and you don't need them like ever at all. Sometimes they're just fun to get later on. You're better off just grabbing 3 stars and 4 stars in the draft and developing them. Coaching credits. When you start a new team, you're going to have almost no coaching credits. Your morale is going to be low. Your fans are going to be low. And if you go to the front office, your stadium, training facilities, and rehab are going to be low. And your coordinators over here on the right are going to be like half a star or 1 star. They're not going to be good. These guys will upgrade. They will level up just like your players do. So you don't need to worry about them yet. Later on, you can hire people in this list, but it costs coaching credits, so you don't need that. The one thing you need to worry about with your coaching credits early on in the season is upgrading your stadium, training facilities, and rehab facilities. I recommend upgrading your rehab facilities first, because your rehab facilities keep people from getting injured, and also if a player does get injured, they keep that player from getting injured for too long. If your rehab facilities are low and a player gets injured, they might be out for 6 or 7 games, which is a lot. But if your rehab facilities are upgraded, then they might only be out for 1 to 3 games, which is a lot better. Your training facilities make sure players level up better, keeps them in better condition, and your stadium keeps your fan morale high. If it's upgraded and you lose, your fan morale will go down less. We're going to start by upgrading our rehab facilities, because I think that's the most important. That's my advice. First thing, upgrade your rehab facilities so that nobody gets injured. You get coaching credits after each game, depending on where your fan level is at. So right now our fan level is at 44%. There's 1, 2, 3 levels to your fan percentage. That bar is split up into 3 levels. After 1 level, you get 1 coaching credit. After 2 levels, you get 2 coaching credits. And on level 3, you get 3 coaching credits after each game. You can also get coaching credits through post or pre-game interactions. As a beginner, you don't need to worry about coaching credits. You will get more as you progress with the team. One of my teams I've been with for 46 seasons, and I've spent thousands of coaching credits. I probably have 300, and I make about 100 coaching credits per season. So later on, it's not as big of a deal as it might seem right now. The last thing we need to go over is the shop down here in the bottom left. This game is not pay to win. You do not need to buy coaching credits unless you want to chip some money to the devs for making such an awesome game. I've done it a few times because I love this game, but you don't need coaching credits to win. You will get more coaching credits as you play. The unlimited version of this game is $1. $1. Guys, trust me when I say this, it's worth at least $10. Knowing what I know now and how many hours I've spent playing it, I'd pay probably $20 for this game. $1. For $1, you get full game customization. You can fully customize every team, uniforms, team name, league name, players, coaches, everything. Plus, you get other useful and fun settings like changing the weather and replay management. $1 for this game is a steal. All that said, Retro Bowl is not a sponsor of my channel. I just love this game so much that I want to let you guys know that I think that if you like this game after playing it for a week or so, just go ahead and spend the $1. This game is so awesome, you will not regret it. I've said my piece. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you like to see more Retro Bowl guides. I want to do a guide what to do mid-game and later game. This is more early game stuff. I might even do a guide series where we build a team from nothing. So let me know if you'd want to see something like that. Please, please, please like and subscribe. I appreciate everything you do. These videos are not super easy to make. And I just appreciate every one of you for tuning in. Thanks very much. I'm JV Teamer. I'll see you tomorrow. Arrivederci.